Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'd like to just first of all welcome you to my channel. If you like my content so far, make sure to subscribe so you get notified of all my new content and videos. So the video today is all about one of the apps that I've just put out on the Ionic React Hub. If you follow me on Twitter or you follow the Ionic React Hub releases, you'll have already seen it probably. So it's the Ionic Restaurant Finder app that I've just released. I thought I would do a follow-up video about this app UI because there's quite a lot of functionality included in this one. Things like maps, markers on maps, overlays when you click a marker on a map, data fetching from an API through the Yelp API, and also a custom node server as well with simple API endpoints. Also a lot of custom design in there and SaaS modules and using Ionic CSS utilities and some other things like animations and custom cards and things like that. So first of all, I want to take you through the app and show you how it works and show you some of the features that I've included in this app, and then I want to jump into the code and take you through at a high level and show you some of the core features and how I achieved this using a certain maps package on the web ecosystem, and then obviously some of the styling as well and how I manipulated that to make it work. So before we jump into the app and the code, I just want to show you some of the things that I'm using throughout this app. So on screen here you can see Pigeon Maps. This is the map package that I'm using for this app. It's a React.js package and it was created by Marius Andra. So if you want to check him out, this is a really simple and easy to use map package. It can't get more simpler than this. I have used Google Maps, I have used Mapbox, I have used Leaflet.js, and this Pigeon Maps package is awesome. It's good if you quickly need to get some maps functionality into an app. Maybe Google Maps would be better for more complex things, like obviously you've got directions and navigation and things like that. But Pigeon Maps is great if you just want to dynamically display markers and overlays on a map, and also you can choose what sort of layers that you want to display on your map as well. For this app I've just used the standard map tiler street view sort of layers. I just want to take you through that, and then I also want to take you through the Yelp website as well. So this is Yelp. If you haven't heard of Yelp, it's just a website that you can search for like restaurants and gyms and basically anything that is a place. So if I typed in here restaurants near my current location, this would go off and search for all of the places around me. So they also have a developer API, and that's what I'm utilizing in this app. So I've created a node server that goes off and fetches the data based on certain API endpoints, and then I'm just consuming that data within the app to create a nice front end around that data that I get back. So I just wanted to show you the maps that I'm using and also the sort of like API or where the data is actually coming from. So Pigeon Maps is the map package and also Yelp is the API. If you want to check out Yelp, they do have a free API for developers. It's 5,000 requests per day. So go in there and test out your skills with fetching data and using that data efficiently within your app. So we'll jump into the app now. I'm going to take you through the app, show you how it works, and then we'll go into the code. So on the right hand side here you can see the app that I've built for the Ionic React Hub. It's a sort of like restaurant finder, and it plots the positions of the restaurants and the takeaways onto a map. You can interact with the markers on the map, and then you can also view the single record in its own page, and you can view a list of pages. You can change the current point and some dynamic searches and stuff. So I'm just going to take you through it. So the first thing you'll notice is all of the blue and red markers on the map. The blue markers represent a record or a restaurant or a takeaway. We can then click one of these markers and we'll get a nice overlay card to display some information about this restaurant or about this takeaway. We get some summary information like the rating, like the phone number, how many miles it is away from the current point or current location, the name and the address, and then we have a phone call button, a navigate button, and a view button. So if we were to press view, this would then take us into the list page and bring us into the view single record page. Then at the top, I've styled out a nice little header using the image that comes back from the API call for the background. And then the rating there, I've just developed a little star rating based on the number that we get back. And then also displaying the mileage as well. And the mileage is what actually gets set into the toolbar title when we scroll. So you can see that, looks quite nice. Then below that we have the categories of this particular restaurant or takeaway. So for this instance, it's a steakhouse. There's a link here that takes you off to the Yelp record. So the API is basically all coming from Yelp. Yelp basically allows us to search through different places based on categories. So they have a cool API which is free. Then here we've got a call button which is hooked up to a tel in the href of an A tag. And then we have a view on map. So this will pop up a nice overlay modal using the overlay hooks. If you don't know about the overlay hooks, I've actually done a video on that just the other day. So if you want to check that out, I'll put it somewhere on the screen now. I've also used the presenting element prop for this modal as well, which makes it have that stack sort of effect on top of the actual app, and then the app comes back whenever you close it. So that's pretty nice. I've included the photos. These photos, we get these from the API call as well, from the single record, and then some reviews there as well that are also pulled back from one of the API endpoints. So if we go back here, if we click on the current location, which is the marker in red, I've just put a note in here to say click on the lightning button, then choose a new point on the map to view places around that point. So let's do that. So let's click on this lightning button and then let's select somewhere else. So let's go away up here on the map and let's go here. Oh, there's nothing there. Here. Okay, we've got a few here. So basically when you click the button, the lightning button, what happens is I set it to like in click mode or edit mode, and then whenever you click the map, I catch that in a function and then reset the state that is holding the current point, latitude and longitude, and then go off and fetch more data from the API and then update the state. So the state is globally managed using Pullstate. So all I do in this instance is when I get the data back from the API, I just update the global state store, and then the map updates with the new markers. So we can go ahead then and we can click on markers, we can go off and view, we can scroll in, we can scroll out. The other thing is the list view. So if we go into the list view, this list view will show us all of the restaurants or takeaways or records based on our current point. So we've selected a new point, so we will be able to see all of the records within our vicinity. I think I've got it set to 2 miles radius. So this list will also update based on whatever current point you click on. And then we can obviously go in here and view the record like we did before, and we can view the map, etc, etc. So if I go back and let's click on one of these just to get one of the names. So Temple Restaurant, and let's scroll out just to show you what happens here. So this is a little dynamic search box. So if we type in Temple, you can see it filters out all of the markers and leaves the search results on the map. So this is a really simple way to implement a search that looks complex. So all we're really doing is filtering an array and then updating the state, a local state variable of search results, and then they automatically get updated in the DOM and then rendered with 1 or whatever the search result is. So if we clear our search criteria, then all of our markers appear back. So we can also view from here. So if we click the view button from the map, it will also take us into the single view record as well. We can carry on as normal. So that's basically a rundown of how the app works. I think it's pretty cool. It's all custom designed. It's fetching data from an API. I've built the API in nodejs, and I'm fetching from the Yelp API, the Developer API. And so now I just want to take you through some of the code around the maps, because I'm using a package called Pigeon Maps, and I had never heard of this until a little while back. So I would have used Google Maps, I've used Mapbox before, and I've also used Leaflet.js as well. And I'd never heard of Pigeon Maps, and I came across it one day, and it's just awesome. It just works. It's really, really nice. So I want to take you through how to set up the map, how to set up the marker, and then how to set up the overlay as well, because I think they're pretty much the main points in this app. I'll also show you the little node server that I built just to fetch the data, and how we call each API endpoint as well. So let's jump into the code now. So first of all, I'm going to take you through the little node server, the Node Express API that I've built. Basically set up a little Yelp API using Axios. We get the base URL from the Yelp developer documentation. We pass in our API key, and then I've just went ahead and set up some basic API endpoints. Now, if you were going to use something like this in a production or a live application, obviously make sure you secure your API, secure your server. Definitely don't have your API key visible in GitHub or anything like that. This is just for demo purposes and this video and the Ionic React Hub. So if you see the API key, it's fine for me in this instance because it's just a demo, and I don't really need to secure it anyway. So let's just go through some of these API endpoints. So we've got a get record, and this basically goes off to businesses/ID, and that gives us back a load of data based on a certain business or a place. We've got get reviews, and this will go off to businesses/ID/reviews, and this will give us back all of the reviews based on a business or a place that we've specified. We have get categories, which will go off and get all the different categories from the Yelp API. And then the big one here, we've got get records. So this is going to go off and get all of the records around a location that you specify based on your latitude and your longitude. So that will either be your current location, or that will either be a current point on the map that you've clicked. We've also got radius here as well, and I've just set the radius to 2 miles. And then we also pass in categories. So for this app, I wanted to build a sort of like restaurant finder app. So for the categories, I've just passed in restaurant and takeaway. And then I've just set up a parameters object here with all of those values. And then we go off to the API endpoint, which is businesses/search, and pass in those parameters. So basically what's going to happen here is it's going to take the latitude and the longitude and the radius. It's going to get all of the places around your current point based on the radius. So it's going to go out as far as your radius and get everything within that radius from your current point or current location, and also based on the categories that you provide as well. So because I provided restaurant and takeaway, it's going to go off to my current point, go out 2 miles, and get everything within that circle that is a restaurant or a takeaway. So whenever I get the data back here on line 74, I just pass the data into a parse details function. And this function basically just takes everything and makes it look really nice, and then pushes an object into an array, returns that massive array back to here, and then we send all of those records back then to the front end with the center as well, so we can center the map. So that's the little server that I've set up. It's just a simple couple of API endpoints that we can utilize from within our app then. So if we head into tab 1, I just want to take you through some of the more complex bits that I think need explaining. So currently I've got this set so it grabs all of the places around a certain point. However, you can uncomment this and it will go off, get your current location, plot your current location, and then use your current location as the current point. But for this video and the demo, I didn't want to give away my exact location for obvious reasons. But you can uncomment that for yourself when you get the code, and you can go off and see how it gets all of the places around you. And just to note, the server that I've set up, it will only return 20. So even though it might you might expect to get 100 or 200 or whatever, it does return a count, and then you can go off with an offset or a page number and get the next 20. But I've just kept it at 20 for now, just because it's a demo and just to prevent overloading the API requests as well. So the first thing we do here is we go off to get all of the records. So we want to go off and get all the records with the current point. So when the current point changes in this use effect, then it's going to go off and get records. And the get records is just a function within a store. So if I go to get records here, and I've got a little Yelp.js set up here, and basically all this is going to do is take the latitude, longitude, and radius, pass it off into that get records API endpoint that I showed you a second ago. And the reason it's localhost 4000 is because it's a local running node server on my local machine. So if you were putting this into production or a live app, then you would obviously host that node server somewhere and call that. We then call set store, and if I go into record store, this is where Pullstate comes in. And I've just set up a really basic function here that basically sets the whole store with all of the records. So set store is basically going to set the records and also set the center based on whatever we passed into that function. And that's the return from the API call. So at this point in time then, we have access to all of those records from anywhere in our app because we're using a global state management tool. So if I go back to tab 1 and scroll on down here, I want to scroll down to the return here. So this is where Pigeon Maps come in, and let me just word wrap this so you can read everything. So this is Pigeon Maps, and it's imported directly from Pigeon Maps. And we've got a default center, we've got a provider, and I've set touch events to true. So whenever it's being viewed on a mobile device, you can touch and pinch to zoom and stuff like that. Then a child of the map is a marker, and this marker is also imported directly from Pigeon Maps. However, the overlay is something that isn't actually imported from Pigeon Maps. The overlay is the custom part. So on each marker I have an on click, and the on click basically goes off to a function to show marker info, and that determines which marker we want to set to show. So it's all controlled by state, so we just update the state to true, the marker overlay will show. But if we come down here to line 152, you can see this overlay component is imported from Pigeon Maps. However, you obviously need to create your own little overlay component, and I've just created a simple little card with a little shadow around it, just to hold some summary information in there about whatever place that you've clicked. So we can set an offset on the overlay, so you don't want the overlay to appear directly on top of the marker or the pin on the map. So you can offset this by a certain value on the X and Y axes. And for me, this worked pretty well. So if I click on one of these markers, you'll see it's not actually consistent, but in most cases it is consistent. It's just above the marker, so you can clearly see where the marker is, and then you can see the overlay container with the summary box in there as well. So the other thing I want to show you is this lightning button. So as I showed you, when you click the lightning button, you can then click on the map and it will fetch new places or new records for you and plot them on the map. So basically all that's happening here is if we come down here on line 167 to the Ion Fab, whenever we click this button, all we're doing is setting a bit of state. So set move mode, and then we're setting it to whatever the opposite is of the value. So if it's true, we'll set it to false. If it's false, we'll set it to true. So on the first click, this will get set to true. So what happens whenever this gets set to true? Well, if we go up to the map here, and we can see here on click, if move mode is true, then we handle the map click. And if it's not true, then we just hide the markers. So if we look at the app here, if I open a marker and I haven't clicked the lightning button, if I click on the map, it's going to hide the markers. But if I click on the lightning button and click on the map, it's going to go off and get more records. So it's this function that's getting called if this move mode is true. So if we go into handle map click, basically all that's happening here is I am passing the event from the click of the map into this function. From that event we can get the latitude and longitude. So here clicked point equals e.lat_long. Then I'm just setting the current point, and that's basically it, and then setting the move mode to false. And because of our use effect up here, so this use effect will run every time the current point gets updated. So because we've already updated that current point in that little handle map click function, then our app is going to go off to the get records again, call our API call, get all the records, parse all the records, return them back, set the global state of the records array, and then obviously with React our DOM is going to update and our markers are going to update on our map. So it's really simple. It's literally 3 or 4 lines of code for that part. So that's pretty much all I really wanted to show you of this app. If you want to see more of this app, you can get this app. I've got the source code up on GitHub, so I will put a link in the description to this app, and you can go ahead and download it. You can fiddle about with the UI and change the design and stuff like that. And if you want to see more videos like this and you want to see some tutorials in the future about Ionic or about React and Ionic React, then please be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube here. And if you want to chat or ask a question or a query, reach out on Twitter. My Twitter is @93alan, and I'll hopefully catch you there or on here on YouTube. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.